We talk a lot about Canadians and our indebtedness, the financial leverage that is of some concern. There's new information, though, that casts a new dire light on the state of some of our balance sheets. CTV's chief financial commentator, Pattie Lovett-Reid, is with us for more. And this one, MNP did a survey. Now, I want to start by saying a word of caution that it's a small pool. So I hate to extrapolate it out to all Canadians.
And they're an insolvency firm.
Right. So they might be pooling in a particular group of people, but we do know Canadians have a lot of debt. What does it tell us about who they surveyed? What are these folks saying?
Well, these folks are saying that 46% would not have enough money or are within $200 or less to get by for their financial obligations at the end of the month. Should something come, that could disrupt that, whether it's interest rates going higher, they could lose their job, they could have an unexpected bill. So what this tells us is that, almost half of Canadians that they surveyed are really living very close to the margin. And Amanda, this didn't happen overnight. These are long-term debts that have begun to accumulate over time, and now the weight of them really impacting those they talk to.
Now, there are people who live paycheck to paycheck, so they basically have. I used to joke in my 20s I didn't have an income, I had an outcome, because
Good way to put it.
I had bills to pay and I paid what I could. But there's difference between spending all of your income on your rent, your food, your entertainment, and having very little left over. Which many people do live in that way.
Absolutely.
And having debt interest payments that are in the mix, because that is something that is non-negotiable, will rise over time if you don't address it.
Absolutely.
And also, as you say, interest rates will go up. Do we know what proportion of these people are grappling with that? I'm going to guess a fair number.
I would suggest a fair number, because if you go back to the beginning of the financial crisis in 2008, the Bank of Canada lowered interest rates in an effort to stimulate the economy. And, we're talking a decade, really. I know interest rates have started to go higher, but when you're in this low interest rate environment, you can carry things, you can manage. We're not talking the small expenditures, putting it on a credit card. We're talking about living in too much home, not being able to afford those mortgage payments, taking on that expensive debt via your credit card. 43% of those in that same survey said they regret some of the debt that they took on. So, you can take on debt and go on a vacation. Today's Blue Monday. They would love you to book a vacation today, but if you can't afford it, that vacation's come and gone. That payment is still there.
So to tie this to a story we're going to talk about later, the IMF is warning that global economy looks weak, that there are risks out there in the world. They actually are advising central banks to get in front of this and think about what they could do to help their economies. In other words, lower rates. How worried do you get when you hear that? Because we've only just finished telling Canadians rates are going up, you're going to have to be prepared for higher interest costs, get your house in order, and now suddenly we're going to say, never mind what we said.
Never mind, don't worry about it, because we'll probably get through it. The problem is, I've often talked about the day of reckoning, and that is the Bank of Canada raising rates. Well, I think the day of reckoning is the individual and their balance sheet, recognizing they can't do it anymore. And so it's gone on for a decade. And so regardless of what the Bank of Canada does, there are going to be enough families. When something hurts enough, you make some changes, and we're starting to see that pain increase.
Always good to have your thoughts, Pattie.
Thanks, Amanda.
CTV's chief financial commentator, Pattie Lovett-Reid.